The world is not only a place for religion, but also for atheism and critical thinking. The modern world of technology and science has its roots in the ancient era when people started to question the very foundations of religion. It's important to recognize that the age of reason has been filled with many people who have contributed immensely for conversations on atheism, scientific temper, and reason. Let's once try to recollect those people and recognize the kind of contribution they have done for progress. Greek philosopher Aristotle in 384 and 322 BC has said, men created gods after their own image, not only with regard to their form, but with regard to their mode of life. Epicurus, the Greek philosopher, in 2300 years back, stated, either God wants to abolish evil and cannot, or he can, but does not want to, or he cannot and does not want to. If he wants to but cannot, then he is impotent. If he can but he does not want to, then he is wicked. But if God both can and wants to abolish evil, then how come evil is there in the world? If you see the kind of questions that are raised in the ancient period on gods as well as the religious institutions, these come out of the inquiry mind. Sad but true, many of the philosophers like Socrates, Galileo, who have been on the road to progress, have been put to death. They have questioned the basics of life. However, this was not accepted by the then religious leaders. If you look at Xenophon, who is a Greek philosopher in 475 BC, he interestingly stated how all gods look like their makers. So, as the old saying goes, God is the perfect reflection of man, because he thinks, acts, hates, and loves the same people whom the person has designed him. Xenophon stated that if cattle or horses or lions had hands and could draw and could sculpt like men, then horses would draw their gods like horses and cattle like cattle, and each they would shape bodies of the gods in the likeness each kind of their own. They look like their artist. In the ancient Greek era, we have seen that the progress has happened because there was a scope to question. And the scope to question was curtailed when religious leaders started to take over the functioning of the state of affairs. However, no questioning spirit can be curtailed by any religious dogma. We do know all the inventions and discoveries and progress has happened due to the spirit of inquiry and questioning. Let's take the case of Buddha, who aptly in his era has questioned the very foundations of thinking. Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found written in your religious books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. Do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down for generations. But after observation and analysis, when you find that anything agrees with reason and is conducive to good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it. Progress is possible when we question and move forward. Most of the inventions and discoveries have happened around the world because they questioned the unknown, they questioned the fear. When in the ancient time, there is a strong belief that people should not cross the seas because of the various unknown creatures which were designed in the minds and said to be believed to be true. However, sailors have actually overcome all these fears, have discovered new lands and found out that the world is one. As we started to progress, we also saw very interesting leaders around the world like Robert Greene Ingersoll in the US, who was a political leader and a very well-known orator in 1833 to 1899. Robert Greene Ingersoll stated that it is 1,000 times better to have common sense without education than to have education without common sense. It is important that we allow education to open up the young minds, open their critical thinking faculties and allow children and youth to be able to discover for themselves and question what is said to them is true. Charles Bradlaugh, founder of the National Secular Society, who is also an English political activist and a member of Parliament, from 1833 to 1891, has aptly said, "Atheism is without God. It does not assert no God." The atheist does not say that there is no God, but he says, "I know not what you mean by God. I am without the idea of God. The word God to me is a sound conveying no clear or distinct affirmation. I do not deny God because I cannot deny that of which I have no conception, and that the conception of which by its affirmer is so imperfect that he is unable to define it to me." Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, as stated by Carl Sagan. All the Greek philosophers, as well as the stalwarts of reason, have always stood up to bring change in the minds of the people. They have stood up for reason and fought for reform that would build the society towards progress. Let's all collectively work to make this world a better, safer, and a rational world ahead. Thank you very much.
For more videos, please subscribe to this channel Positive Atheism and activate the bell icon.